Fair, accurate. From our newsrooms in Eugene, Roseburg, and Coos Bay, KVAL News starts now.
We can confirm that there are 4 deceased in the wreckage. We've secured the scene. We've notified FAA and NTSB.
Local and national authorities are investigating a small plane crash in Harrisburg that took 4 lives this morning. The Linn County Sheriff tells us the investigation is still fresh and there are a lot of questions remaining. Good evening, I'm Jackie Garrity.
I'm David Walker. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. The Sheriff's Office says concerned citizens called 911 to report a plane having difficulties in the air. That was right before it crashed. KVAL's David Caltabiano was at the crash site for us today.
It's right in this location where the crash happened. That's the wreckage right behind me where a small plane crashed just after 11 a.m. on Friday. Officials say that 4 people lost their lives as a result. Multiple agencies digging through the wreckage Friday morning after a small single-engine aircraft went down in this empty field.
Deputies arrived on scene and we have discovered a small single-engine plane that has crashed.
Linn County Sheriff's Department says there were 4 people inside. None of them survived. On a cold, wet, and windy day, authorities are still not certain what caused the crash.
Whether it's weather-related or mechanical difficulties, it's too early to tell that.
Sheriff Riley says it's also too early to tell where the plane came from and where it was going. The crash site was just 15 miles from the Eugene airport.
The investigation is fluid and ongoing as we speak.
Agencies including Lane County Search and Rescue, Harrisburg Fire, and Linn County Sheriff's Office working together in the investigation, soon joined by the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board to help in finding answers.
We are conducting an investigation. We're going to try to determine, of course, what happened. We need to determine who's inside.
And this is an ongoing investigation, so we're going to give you more information when we have it. Until then, reporting in Harrisburg, David Caltabiano.
Sheriff Riley again says they're working to find out more about who was on that plane and where it was coming from. He tells us that could take the next several hours to the next several days.
And of course, we'll be following this story for you and we'll update you as we learn anything new. And it's time for your forecast. Meteorologist Travis Knutson is standing by in the Weather Center. And there was a whole lot going on today weather-wise. Wind everywhere. Travis, what are we going to look at tonight?
Well, the good news is the strong gusts we had this morning have been calming down all day long, and that continues through the night. Tomorrow, the winds will really be a thing of the past. But here's a look at how strong those winds were howling across the state today. This is the top gusts we've seen over the past 24 hours. Coos Bay, 62-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Down in Eugene, only about 45 miles an hour, and Roseburg got it the lightest of everyone with their top gust at 36 miles per hour. Our sustained winds outside right now are still a little bit on the windy side, primarily from a southerly direction, but they're much calmer than what they were earlier today, and by tomorrow, we really won't be talking about windy conditions anymore. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. While the winds calm down, the rain stays with us. We'll be watching off and on showers all night long. Saturday is looking particularly wet. Looking at the power planner here, you can see those rain icons stay with us. Lows will be in the 30s. Highs tomorrow, not too warm, maybe around 50 degrees. And the weekend, at least the start of it, is looking wet, but there's a few dry opportunities coming up this weekend. I'll tell you exactly when in my full forecast minutes away.
Thanks, Travis. KVAL's Justina Coelho joins us live from 1 Crocker Road in North Eugene, where 2 massive Douglas firs came crashing down this morning, closing the road for a few hours.
Well, Justina, looks like a lot of damage out there. Was anyone hurt?
Hi, David, Jackie. Well, thankfully, no one was hurt because these trees here fell into the road and not onto the home. And thank goodness, because by the size of this stump here, you can tell these trees were huge. The homeowner says they were more than 200 feet tall, and this is where they landed. This used to be a brick wall here. You can tell it is no longer standing. The homeowner says he woke up to a loud crash around 5:30 this morning. When he looked outside, he saw that the trees had knocked down that wall, went into the road, and into the neighbor's yard. He says once the weather gets a little nicer, he actually plans to get rid of the rest of the trees in his yard just because they're a little too close to the house. For now, he says he has his work cut out for him.
You know, we'll get it cleaned up and go on about our life. Just thank God that nobody got hurt.
Eugene Public Works says these are just 2 of about 60 hazardous trees they've been working on today. They've had 13 crews working around the clock. They say they'll focus on clearing priority routes and hazardous trees first. The rest of the cleanup, like clearing debris and branches, will continue into next week. And you can see and probably hear behind me that crews are still out here cleaning up. Eugene Public Works does say that they rely on the public's help during storm cleanup. So if you spot any hazardous trees, give them a call. We have that phone number posted on our website. Live in North Eugene, Justina Coelho, KVAL News.
Justina, thanks. High winds caused a lot of problems in the Albany area. Fire officials there say they were called out to help in several traffic accidents. And around 7 o'clock this morning, a tree fell into a house along Queen Avenue, just across the street from West Albany High School. That downed tree forced power lines to droop dangerously close to the sidewalk.
Fortunately, no injuries from that, but the soft, wet ground in connection with the heavy winds are definitely moving trees around and causing them to fall onto structures.
Now, the big tree trunk had been removed from the house by the time our crew got there. Elsewhere, ODOT reporting the downed power line temporarily closed I-5 in both directions north of Albany. ODOT also reported downed power lines had closed Highway 20 east of Albany near Ingle Road.
Those downed trees have toppled power lines across the area, leaving thousands in the dark today. As of this evening, Pacific Power says more than 21,000 customers are still without power. More than 7,000 of those are in the Lebanon area. At the height of the outage, Pacific Power says nearly 92,000 customers were left in the dark. EPUD says less than 2,000 customers remain without power, and eWeb reports 4,000 are still without power. Do you have some of that wild weather in your neighborhood? Well, we want to know about it. We have a link to submit photos at burst.com/KVAL or head to our website, kval.com. And you can count on KVAL News for continuing coverage of the storm. You can also head to kval.com for updates or just follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
Covering the world, President Donald Trump is dealing with his first international crisis. The world's reacting after he ordered U.S. forces to attack Syria, saying the images of innocent people choking on poison gas moved him to take action.
Tonight, KVAL's Ellen Menny has been following this story all day. She joins us live in the studio. Ellen, what's the latest?
Jackie and David, U.S. warships launched 59 cruise missiles overnight at an air base in western Syria. The strike targeted the airfield where the plane that dropped deadly gas on civilians is believed to have taken off from. Syria says the missiles killed 7 people. The office of the Syrian president calls the strike reckless and irresponsible. President Trump is in Florida for meetings with the Chinese president. The president did not answer any questions this morning about the strike. Last night, he explained why it was necessary.
It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons.
Russia describes the U.S. action as an act of aggression in violation of international law. Now, some U.S. lawmakers say the president should have consulted with Congress, but others have voiced their support and want Syrian President Bashar Assad removed from office. Live in the studio, Ellen Menny, KVAL News.
Ellen, thank you. Senator Ron Wyden is responding to U.S. missile strike on Syria. In a statement released today, Senator Wyden says, quote, this use of sarin gas against men, women, and mostly horrifically against children violates international rules and norms, as well as the Assad regime's specific commitments to the international community. Wyden says he is concerned about what he calls the president's lack of strategy with respect to the war in Syria. What do you think? Today's question of the day, do you agree with the president's decision to launch military strikes against Syria? You can head to kval.com and click on the Answer the Question of the Day button to weigh in.
Well, the Senate has approved Judge Neil Gorsuch to be the 9th member of the U.S. Supreme Court. Judge Gorsuch will replace the late Justice Antonin Scalia. Democrats urging him not to be too ideological in his decisions. Both Democrats and Republicans are warning of extreme partisanship in the future after a rules change which allowed the judge to be confirmed by a simple majority vote.
I say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, and I say to my friends on this side of the aisle, that's not the way the Senate was designed to work.
But where does the Senate go? Where should we go? Well, I hope that we'll have the good sense to restore the 60-vote margin when it comes to future Supreme Court nominees.
Judge Gorsuch will be sworn in to the Supreme Court on Monday.
Next up on KVAL News at 5, more details on the fatal plane crash in Harrisburg that took 4 lives today.
Plus, coming soon to Albany, a new fire station. We'll give you a look at what's in store for this $10 million project.
First, fair, accurate. You're watching KVAL News.
And back to our top story tonight. An investigation is underway into a fatal plane crash near Harrisburg.
Information is limited right now, but the Linn County Sheriff's Office confirms 4 people are dead. Now, this is a live look at the scene of the crash on Peoria Road, about 1 mile from Harrisburg. The Sheriff's Office says concerned citizens called 911 to report a plane having difficulties in the air before it crashed. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the crash and the cause. We will continue to bring you new information as we have it. Charno Mulligan Park reopened today. It was closed for about a year while the city of Eugene renovated it. The city and neighbors in that area say the park attracted a lot of illegal behavior, and the new designs are meant to fix that problem. The city removed berms and created more space so people can't hide. There's also a new playground and basketball court. Some neighbors are excited, but others aren't.
The playground looks delightful. I wish I was younger so that I could take advantage of it. But I will take advantage of that basketball hoop.
There used to be a shelter. There used to be picnic tables under the shelter. They took all that stuff away. I don't understand that.
The park cost $785,000. Some of that money came from a federal urban development grant. The city is holding a grand opening celebration in June.
Well, a new fire station is being built in downtown Albany.
Voters approved money for the project in a bond measure 2 years ago. KVAL's Tom Adams braved the storm, and he joins us in the studio with an update. Good evening, Tom.
Well, good evening, David and Jackie. A little bit of rain and wind didn't stop the progress today by construction crews at the future Albany Station 11. Crews from Girding Builders of Corvallis and about 5 subcontractors are forging ahead on the $10 million project. A 4-person fire crew and all the administration and training staff will be merged into this single facility. Old Station 11 in Albany was 67 years old and was bulldozed last summer to make way for the new building.
Seismically, it was not sound, did not have adequate emergency power for a blustery day like today if the power were to go out.
It's definitely a nice facility, definitely state-of-the-art, and
James Lutz told me today the project is on time to open up this August and is on budget. Albany voters passed an $18 million bond issue for the new firehouse and a new headquarters office for the Albany City Police. One piece of the old fire station is being saved for the new station. We'll show you what that is next hour. Tom Adams, KVAL News.
Thank you, Tom. The Oregon Ducks had their second spring football practice today. We catch up with new Oregon defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt. Preston Highfield still ahead with KVAL Sports.